A quiet African village surrounded by red soil and tall palm trees lived a beautiful woman named Amaka and her husband, Obi. When they first got married, people admired them greatly.
My love, this place is beautiful.
Not as beautiful as you, my queen.
You always know what to say.
Because it's true. Come here.
I feel so happy here with you.
Every moment with you is a treasure,
Kiss me, my love.
forever and always.
Catch me!
Got you.
You're strong!
Only for you.
My love, you make my heart sing.
And you, my heart's desire.
I love you more than words can say.
Forever and always, my queen.
Kiss me now.
I love you so much.
I love you too, my heart. Oh, look at them. So beautiful together.
Thank you, everyone.
We're blessed to have you.
This is perfect.
They were deeply in love, and their home was filled with laughter and dreams. Amaka and Obi were known as the lovebirds of the community. From the moment they exchanged vows under the ancient mango tree, their marriage became the shining example that every young couple aspired to. Obi, strong and handsome, could not keep his eyes off his beautiful wife. Amaka, with her radiant smile, long flowing hair, and graceful ways, moved through the village like a queen. Their modest home, with its neatly swept compound and colorful flowers blooming along the fence, was always filled with laughter, sweet whispers, and the warm aroma of Amaka's cooking. Villagers admired them openly. The women would sigh and say, "Look at how Obi looks at Amaka," as if the sun rises and sets in her eyes. The men would tease Obi at the palm wine bar, "You've spoiled marriage for the rest of us." Their union was the envy of the entire village, a perfect blend of love, respect, and youthful dreams. When Amaka discovered she was pregnant with their first child, joy exploded throughout the family like fireworks. Obi carried her around the compound as if she were made of glass, refusing to let her fetch water or pound yam. His family, especially his mother and sisters, visited every day with gifts of fresh fruits, special herbs, and colorful baby clothes. Finally, a grandchild. Obi's mother would declare proudly, rubbing Amaka's growing belly, "This one will be a strong son who will carry our name and continue the family lineage." The entire household was buzzing with excitement. Neighbors brought gifts of eggs, chickens, and woven baskets. Songs of celebration echoed across the red paths at night as the family prepared for the new arrival. Amaka glowed with happiness, dreaming of the beautiful future they would build together as parents. 9 months later, under the gentle light of a kerosene lamp in their hut, Amaka gave birth to a healthy, beautiful baby girl. For a brief moment, the room filled with the sweet sound of the newborn's cry. But as the midwife announced, "It is a girl," a heavy silence slowly settled over the excited faces. The joy that had filled the family began to crack, ever so slightly.
Amaka, so you think you can give birth to a girl and think it's okay? We need a boy to continue our family name.
Mother, it's God that gives children.
Amaka. So if you can't give us a male child, please go back to your family.
Mother, please, it's what God gave me. It's not my doing.
My child.
Why did you give birth to a girl and not a boy?
But after their first child was born, it was a girl. Obi's family was disappointed. His mother clicked her tongue loudly and said, "A woman that cannot give birth to a son is weakening the family bloodline." Amaka cried silently that night, but Obi comforted her. "Don't worry," he whispered. "Next one will be a boy." But the second child came. Another girl. Then the third. Another girl again.
So if you can't give us a male child, please go back to your family.
The pressure became unbearable. Neighbors mocked Amaka openly. Women whispered whenever she passed. Men laughed at Obi in drinking bars. 3 girls? Who will carry your name? Slowly Obi changed. The man who once defended his wife became cold and bitter. He stopped eating at home. Stopped smiling at his daughters. Stopped touching Amaka. One evening, after another argument with his family, Obi exploded in anger. "I need a son," he shouted. "What use is a house full of girls? Amaka stood there trembling with tears in her eyes. Our daughters are children too, she said softly. But Obi had already hardened his heart. After years of marriage, she found herself carrying the entire responsibility of providing for her family alone. Her husband had stopped giving her any money for household expenses, leaving her to struggle on her own to feed herself and their children. With no support from him, she had to find a way to survive and ensure that her children never went to bed hungry.
You useless woman, always washing and never finishing. Look at this mess, you are a disgrace. Stop crying and do your work properly. Useless, just useless. You useless woman. Can't you do anything right?
Please, I dey try, no vex.
Try, you be lazy fool, always complaining. You too much.
Daddy, just stop abusing mother. Abusing mother all the time.
Will you keep quiet so your mother told you to talk to me in this manner?
Daddy, this is not fair. Oh, why are you treating us this way?
Shut that small mouth, like mother, like daughters. Come back here now.
Please stop this. She's just a child.
I will deal with all of you.
Determined to provide for her family despite the challenges, she started selling fresh vegetables in the local market. Every morning, she would wake up before sunrise to purchase vegetables, arrange them neatly in her small stall, and spend long hours under the hot sun hoping to make enough sales to buy food and meet her children's basic needs. Life was far from easy. The little profit she made was often barely enough to cover daily expenses. Yet she remained strong, sacrificing her own comfort so that her children could eat and have a chance at a better future. Instead of receiving encouragement from her husband, she was met with humiliation. He would sometimes come to the market and openly mock her in front of customers and other traders, making hurtful comments about her work and her struggles.
You useless woman, why did you do this?
Why are you bent on embarrassing me all the time? What have I done to deserve this?
All you know how to do is to come open your shop, not thinking how to give me male children, useless
So
woman.
you have to come to public to embarrass me. Am I the one who gives children? God has these children. Why not appreciate
You are so foolish to think you can fool me. You will meet me at home.
Despite the embarrassment and emotional pain, she refused to give up. She continued working tirelessly, knowing that her children depended on her. Her story is one of resilience, courage, and determination, a mother who chose to fight for her family's survival even when the person who should have supported her the most turned his back on his responsibilities. A few months later, he abandoned his wife and married a younger woman named Anita, the woman he had secretly been seeing for months. The village celebrated the new marriage because everyone believed Anita would finally give Obi sons.
Let's dance!
With you always.
Feel the rhythm!
You need my help.
My husband, today is our day.
Yes, my wife. Let us celebrate with everyone.
Come, let us eat and drink.
Thank you all.
This feels like a dream.
You are my dream.
I love dancing with you.
Forever with you.
Amaka was left alone with her 3 daughters. People pitied her. Some said her life was over. But they didn't know the kind of woman Amaka truly was.
Mommy, the market was fun today.
Dear, we got plenty for dinner.
The very day after their wedding, the new wife approached her husband with a serious expression on her face. "My husband," she said, "now that we are married, I think it is time for you to take me to your family house. I don't think we should continue living in this house." The husband looked at her in surprise and replied calmly, "Yes, I understand what you're saying, but this is also my house. I built it with my hard-earned money. Don't you think we should live here for now? Besides, we only just got married. Isn't it too early to start talking about moving out?" The new wife remained silent for a moment before repeating her request. She was determined that they should relocate to his family house as soon as possible. The husband then asked a question that immediately changed the atmosphere. "If we decide to move to my family house, what happens to Amaka and my children? Where are they supposed to go?" The woman's face changed. She had not expected him to bring up Amaka and the children so directly. The husband loved his children deeply and could not imagine abandoning them or leaving them without a place to call home. What began as a simple conversation soon turned into a heated disagreement. The husband was caught between the demands of his new wife and his responsibility toward Amaka and his children. As tensions rose,
You must send your old wife away from your family house.
Send her away. That is not possible.
I am tired of sharing you. I want us to live as husband and wife in your house.
And wife too. This is our tradition.
I don't care about send you away. Send your old wife and children away. You are no longer married to her.
But according to tradition, I can only do that when the bride price is refunded.
I don't care about tradition. I am your wife now. Send them away.
It is not that simple.
If you don't send them away, I will do it myself. I am your wife and I'm going to give you male children. Send them away.
You will do no such thing.
How dare you?
Woman, why did you slap me?
I will do it again if that will reset your brain.
You are mad.
Do you have any plans of having her back?
No, what nonsense are you talking about? I don't want her anymore. I want you.
My wife, are you still angry?
Not until you agree to my request.
But I said I will. Please, we just got married. Let's have a good time together, not this fighting.
Fine. Then send them away.
I will. I want only you.
Come inside. Let me give you my sweet food.
Your sweet food, I can't wait.
It's waiting for you inside.
Lead the way.
Come, sit here.
You are so sweet.
You like Wahala, oh. See how you blood the hot.
Nah, you sabi. You go see Wahala today.
No kill me, oh.
Lie down there, sharp, sharp.
The situation became even more complicated when he brought his new wife into the family home. Faced with a difficult choice, he felt he had no option but to decide between losing his new wife or ending up alone. In the end, he chose to stand by his new wife rather than reconcile with Amaka. One of his main reasons was to have boys who will bear his name. He convinced himself that his new wife would give birth to boys, something he believed Amaka had failed to do. Blinded by this hope, he agreed to force his former wife out of the family house. He went to the main house, but Amaka and the children weren't there. Then he went to the kitchen where he found her making dinner.
I have come to tell you that you need to move out of this house. I need to move in with my new wife.
No! I have no place to go. Please don't do this.
You have to move out today.
I have no place to go. How can you do this to us?
I am only going to give you just today to get yourself ready. Tomorrow you are leaving this house.
Daddy, please don't leave us.
Please don't do this.
You people are going with your mother. You are all useless to me.
Get out of my house. I don't want you here anymore, he shouted angrily. The woman fell to her knees, holding her children close. Please, she begged through tears, where are we supposed to go? You can't throw your own children out onto the streets. I don't care, he replied coldly. Just leave. As far as I'm concerned, you can go wherever you want. The next morning, Obi stormed back into the compound just as he had promised. His face was twisted with rage as he marched straight through the entrance and into the sitting room, his heavy footsteps echoing off the walls. But Amaka was not there waiting for him. Enraged, he raised his voice and bellowed through the house, Amaka, Amaka, come out here right now with your belongings and leave my house. I will not repeat myself. Come out now before I descend on you. His shouts filled the air, sharp and furious, as he pointed aggressively toward the bedroom door where Amaka stood frozen with their children huddled around her. The room was in chaos. Suitcases lay open on the bed, clothes scattered everywhere, and the children clung to their mother with tear-streaked faces, one holding a teddy bear tightly. Amaka's eyes were filled with sorrow and fear as she tried to gather their things, knowing there was no turning back. The children cried as they clung to their mother, unable to understand why their father was sending them away. With nowhere to go and no one to turn to, she gathered her belongings and slowly walked out of the house, her heart heavy with pain and uncertainty. Amaka decides to move forward. After the emotional turmoil and the painful separation from Obi, Amaka made a firm decision to face reality and move on with her life. She refused to let heartbreak define her or hold her back any longer. Her children, little Nneka, Chidi, and the youngest, Adana, had become her entire world and her greatest motivation. Everything she did from that moment onward was centered on giving them stability, love, and a bright future. She was determined to be the strong, self-reliant mother they deserved. Amaka found herself at a crossroads with no clear path forward. The big house that had once been her home now belonged to another woman, and the community that once respected her as Obi's wife now whispered behind her back. With 3 young children, Nneka, Chidi, and little Adana, depending entirely on her, Amaka had no option but to seek shelter at her parents' house. She and the children had nowhere else to go. The thought of returning to her family home filled her with deep shame and humiliation. How could she, a grown woman who had left her parental home years ago in a grand wedding celebration, now return as a failed wife, abandoned and disgraced, and made the long walk to her parents' compound on the outskirts of the village? The journey felt endless. Nneka held her baby sister's hand while Chidi dragged one of the suitcases behind him, occasionally asking, "Mummy, are we going to see Grandpa and Grandma?" Amaka could only nod, swallowing the lump in her throat. She felt like a complete failure. The village paths that had once witnessed her joyful youth now seemed to judge her every step. Whispers of her story had already begun spreading. Obi's first wife has been sent away because she could not give him a son. When she finally arrived at the familiar zinc-roofed house surrounded by mango trees and cassava farms, Amaka stood at the entrance for several minutes, unable to knock. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the wrapper around her waist. What if they turned her away? What if they blamed her for not fighting harder or for failing to produce a male child, just as Obi had? But to her surprise, the moment her mother, Mama Amaka, opened the door and saw her daughter standing there with the 3 children, her face lit up with pure joy rather than disappointment. "Amaka, my daughter!" Mama Amaka exclaimed, pulling her into a tight embrace before even noticing the luggage. "Komein, Komein. What are you waiting for outside like a stranger?" Amaka's father, Papa Amaka, a retired school teacher known for his quiet wisdom, soon appeared from the sitting room. Instead of the scolding or lecture she had feared, he smiled warmly, his eyes glistening with emotion. "We have been praying for this day," he said softly, bending down to hug his grandchildren one by one. "Welcome home, my children." On several occasions in the past, her parents had gently urged Amaka to leave the abusive marriage. They had seen the signs: Obi's growing frustration over the lack of a male child, his cold treatment toward her, and the emotional toll it was taking. "A woman deserves peace, not constant humiliation," her mother had whispered during one visit. "Come back home if it becomes too much. Your children will always have a place here." But Amaka had stayed, hoping things would improve, believing she could win Obi's love through endurance. Now, those earlier pleas made sense. Her parents welcomed her and the children with open arms and open hearts. That very evening, Mama Amaka prepared a large pot of Amaka's favorite bitter leaf soup with pounded yam, filling the house with the comforting aromas of home. The children were given their old room, cleaned, and aired out with fresh bed sheets. Papa Amaka sat with them under the mango tree, telling stories to make the little ones laugh and forget the tension of the day. In the weeks that followed, Amaka's parents became her strongest support system. They never once made her feel like a burden. Instead, they encouraged her to start her fresh vegetables business right from their family land. Her mother helped watch the children during market hours, while her father offered wise advice on sourcing produce from neighboring farms. The shame Amaka had carried like a heavy load slowly began to lift, replaced by gratitude and renewed strength. For the first time in years, Amaka slept peacefully, knowing her children were safe and loved unconditionally. Her parents' unconditional acceptance reminded her that true family stands firm even when the world turns its back. This return home marked not the end of her dignity but the beginning of her independence and healing. Amara's parents held a family meeting with their daughter and agreed that it was time to bring the marriage to an end. After careful consideration, they decided to proceed with the traditional process of dissolving the union. They then visited Obi's family home to formally discuss and finalize the separation. Respected elders from both families were invited to participate in the meeting and ensure that all customs and traditions were properly observed. The gathering was conducted with dignity and respect as both families came together to bring the marriage to a formal conclusion. According to customs and traditions, Obi's family welcomes them with cola nuts and palm wine. They invite both Amaka and Obi to the table, asking each person if they are okay to finalize the end of their union.
Welcome to our home. According to our tradition, we offer you cola nuts and palm wine.
Thank you.
Here we offer you the cola nuts and palm wine of unity. Even after what has happened, accept this.
Thank you.
The bride price was refunded to Obi's family, and all necessary rituals were performed to finalize the end of their union. Afterwards, Amaka and her family left Obi's family home. With renewed purpose, Amaka threw herself completely into her fresh vegetables business. What had once been a modest stall at the local market gradually expanded as she worked tirelessly from dawn till dusk. She sourced the freshest produce directly from trusted farmers, arranged attractive displays, and built strong relationships with regular customers who appreciated her quality and honesty. Word spread quickly in the community about Amaka's reliable supply of crisp green vegetables, ripe tomatoes, peppers, and leafy ugu. Within months, her business began to profit more than ever before. The income allowed her to comfortably provide for her children, paying their school fees on time, putting nutritious meals on the table, and even saving a little for their future. She hired a young assistant to help during peak hours, which gave her more time to spend with the children in the evenings. For the first time in a long while, Amaka felt a quiet sense of pride and independence. She no longer waited for anyone to rescue her. She was building her own path. 6 months later, it was a busy afternoon in her shop. The golden sunlight filtered through the open sides of the market stall as Amaka arranged bundles of fresh okra and scent leaves. Her children were playing nearby under the watchful eye of her assistant. Amaka was humming softly to herself, satisfied with the steady flow of customers and the healthy stack of earnings for the day. Suddenly, one of her longtime customers, Mama Ngozi, a talkative woman from the neighborhood, hurried over with wide eyes and a concerned expression. "Amaka, my sister, have you heard?" Mama Ngozi asked, lowering her voice slightly but unable to hide her excitement. "Heard what?" Amaka replied calmly, wiping her hands on her wrapper as she continued sorting vegetables. Mama Ngozi leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a dramatic whisper. "Have you heard? Obi's wife is pregnant. She has been going around parading herself around the village, showing off her growing belly like she has won a prize. Although I heard from a friend that the child might not even be his. Obi and her have been quarreling a lot lately. They say she has been sneaky around the village with other men. People are talking." Amaka paused, her hands stilling on a bunch of ugu leaves. She felt a slight stir in her chest, but it quickly settled. Mama Ngozi continued without missing a beat, her eyes wide with urgency. "Amaka, aren't you going to do something about it? That is the father of your children, even though you both are not married anymore. What happens if she gives birth to a boy? That means you have lost everything. The inheritance, the properties, the respect in this village. Everything will go to that child. You cannot just sit here quietly while this is happening." The market noise seemed to fade for a moment as Amaka absorbed the words. For a brief second, old memories flashed through her mind, the promises Obi had once made, the life they had shared, and the pain of his betrayal. But then she looked over at her 3 children playing happily nearby, their laughter ringing out like music. Nneka was helping Adana stack small stones, while Chidi chased after a butterfly. That sight anchored her. Amaka took a deep breath and smiled gently but firmly at Mama Ngozi. "Thank you for telling me, Mama Ngozi. I hear everything you are saying, but I have chosen to face reality and move on with my life. My only concern now is taking care of my children and growing this business. Obi made his choices, and I have made mine. Whether the child is a boy or a girl, whether it is his or not, that is no longer my battle to fight. I have built something real here with my hands. My children are thriving, and that is enough for me." Mama Ngozi looked surprised, clearly expecting more drama or anger. "But Amaka..." Amaka shook her head softly. "No, Mama. I thank God for where I am today. Let Obi and his wife handle their own matters. My path is different now. Would you like some fresh tomatoes? They came in this morning, very sweet." Mama Ngozi eventually bought some vegetables and left, still shaking her head in disbelief at Amaka's calm response. As the afternoon sun continued its slow descent, Amaka returned to her work with even greater focus. The news, though unexpected and juicy by village standards, only reinforced her resolve. She had truly moved on. Her future, and more importantly her children's future, was secure in her own capable hands. No amount of village gossip could change the peaceful, purposeful life she was building day by day. Week after the market gossip from Mama Ngozi, life in the village continued its usual rhythm. Amaka remained focused on her thriving vegetable business, waking early each morning to select the best produce from the farms and tending to her loyal customers with warmth and professionalism. Her children were her anchor, Nneka helping arrange the smaller items at the stall after school, Chidi carrying light loads with pride, and little Adana charming everyone with her giggles. Rumors and gossip about Amara spread far and wide. Everywhere people went, they talked about how much better her life had become even after leaving her husband. Many were surprised by her success and admired the strength and determination she had shown in rebuilding her life. At the same time, no conversation about Amara seemed complete without mentioning Obi's new wife. People compared the two women constantly, discussing how Amara appeared happier, more successful, and more fulfilled than ever before, while Obi's new marriage became the subject of endless speculation and criticism throughout the community. Obi and his wife had faded into the background for Amaka. She had chosen peace over drama. Meanwhile, across the village in the big house that once felt like home to Amaka, Obi and his pregnant wife, Nneoma, prepared for a friend's traditional ceremony. It was a grand celebration, a chieftaincy title ceremony for one of Obi's longtime business associates. The compound was filled with colorful canopies, the aroma of sizzling goat meat and jollof rice, traditional music from live drummers, and guests dressed in their finest attires. Obi wore a richly embroidered white agbada with gold accents, while Nneoma, her belly now noticeably rounded, shone in a vibrant lace blouse and wrapper set that accentuated her pregnancy glow. She had been parading her condition proudly in recent weeks, drawing attention wherever she went. As the occasion progressed into the evening, Obi and Nneoma mingled with friends under one of the large canopies. Laughter filled the air as old stories were shared, glasses clinked with palm wine, and congratulations were exchanged. For a while, everything seemed normal. Nneoma sat beside Obi, smiling and chatting animatedly with the other wives. But as the night deepened and the music grew louder, Obi turned to say something to her, only to find her seat empty. He scanned the crowd, assuming she had stepped away briefly to greet someone or use the restroom. Minutes passed. Still no sign of her. Concerned, Obi pulled out his phone and dialed her number. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Switched off. A frown creased his forehead. "Where is Nneoma?" he asked one of their mutual friends, a woman named Chinasa who had been sitting nearby. Chinasa smiled casually, waving her hand dismissively. "Oh, she said she will be back in a second. Don't worry, Obi. You know how these ceremonies are, plenty of people to greet." Obi nodded, though unease settled in his chest. He rejoined the group of men, laughing at jokes and discussing business deals, but his eyes kept darting toward the entrance of the compound. 10 minutes became 20, then 30. The friend's reassurance echoed in his mind, but doubt was creeping in. He tried calling again, still switched off. The minutes stretched into a full hour. Obi's laughter grew forced. His friends noticed his distraction but brushed it off with teasing remarks about pregnant wives and their moods. Hoping she would return shortly, he stayed, forcing himself to engage in conversations about politics and the upcoming farming season. But as 2 hours passed and the ceremony reached its peak with dances and more toasts, Obi could no longer ignore the knot in his stomach. Anger and embarrassment began to replace worry. "This is enough," he muttered under his breath. He stood up abruptly, bid a curt farewell to his friends, and left the occasion ground without waiting any longer. The grand chieftaincy ceremony had reached its conclusion. The once vibrant compound, filled with laughter, drumming, and the aroma of festive food, was now quieting down. The final touches of packing up were underway. A figure emerged from the shadows near the entrance of the compound. It was Nneoma. She walked in slowly, her vibrant lace outfit slightly wrinkled, her steps hesitant. Her pregnancy was evident, but her usual confident swagger was nowhere to be seen. The air instantly shifted. Everyone still present, the host's family, the remaining friends, the workers folding tables, froze in place. Heads turned one by one. Eyes widened in shock and disbelief. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the small group. "Is that not Obi's wife?" someone whispered loudly. "She disappeared earlier, and now she's just coming back?" Nneoma stood there under the collective gaze of the remaining guests, her face burning with embarrassment. All eyes were focused on her, some with curiosity, others with judgment, and a few with outright pity. The same people who had watched her parade her pregnancy proudly earlier in the evening were now staring at her as if she were a stranger. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her handbag, searching desperately for a familiar face to approach, perhaps to explain or ask about Obi. But she couldn't bring herself to ask anyone questions. The weight of their stares pinned her in place. No one moved forward to greet her warmly. The usual village pleasantries and smiles had vanished, replaced by awkward silence and knowing glances. She could feel the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Where have you been all this time? Why did you abandon your husband at such an important occasion? What kind of pregnant wife disappears for hours? The embarrassment was overwhelming. Nneoma's cheeks flushed hot, and she lowered her gaze to the ground, wishing the earth would open and swallow her. The party was already over. There was nothing left for her to join or celebrate. No music, no food being served, no lively conversations to blend into. Everything had wound down, leaving her exposed in the aftermath. With as much dignity as she could muster, Nneoma forced a small, polite smile and gave a slight nod to the host, who stood nearby looking equally surprised. "Thank you for the invitation," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have to go now." Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked away as gracefully as possible, though her steps were hurried. The compound watched her leave in silence until she disappeared into the darkness beyond the gate. Only then did the murmurs erupt again, louder this time, filled with speculation and gossip that would no doubt spread like wildfire across the village by morning. Nneoma's late arrival had turned what should have been a simple return into a moment of public humiliation. The very occasion where she had once shone so brightly now highlighted the growing cracks in her marriage to Obi. As she made her way home alone, the weight of her actions from earlier that night pressed heavily on her. The secret rendezvous, the lies, and the growing consequences she could no longer ignore. It was well past midnight when Obi finally heard the sound of the front gate opening. He had been pacing the spacious living room of their home, the same room where he had once built a life with Amaka. The lights were dim, and a half-empty bottle of whiskey sat on the center table. His anger had simmered into a quiet rage. Nneoma walked in, looking slightly disheveled. Her makeup was a bit smudged, and she carried her handbag loosely. She paused when she saw Obi standing there, arms crossed, his face hardened with suspicion. "Where have you been?" Obi demanded, his voice low but sharp. "I called you several times. Your phone was switched off. You disappeared from the ceremony for over 3 hours." Nneoma rolled her eyes and tried to brush past him toward the bedroom. "Obi, not tonight. I was just catching up with some old friends. You know how these things go, women's talk. I didn't want to disturb you with the men." "Old friends?" Obi's voice rose as he followed her. "At this time of the night? After you told Chinasa you would be back in a second? I waited like a fool while everyone was asking where my pregnant wife was." The argument escalated quickly. Nneoma's tone turned defensive, then aggressive. Words flew back and forth, accusations of control, reminders of past quarrels, and mounting suspicions. In the heat of the moment, as Obi pressed her for the truth, Nneoma's carefully maintained facade began to crack. What happened next was devastating. In a fit of frustration and perhaps a slip of the tongue fueled by guilt, Nneoma lashed out. "You think you can question me when you're the one who abandoned your first family? Maybe this child isn't even yours, Obi. At least the men I see actually make me feel wanted." The words hung heavy in the air like a thunderclap. Obi froze, his face draining of color. The confirmation of the village rumors, the sneaking around, the quarrels, the possible infidelity, hit him with brutal force. He had suspected, but hearing it spoken so callously shattered something deep inside him. The big house suddenly felt cold and empty. The reality of his choices crashed down. The loss of Amaka's loyalty, the uncertain future of his new marriage, and the child that might not even carry his blood. Nneoma stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door, leaving Obi alone in the sitting room. He sank into a chair, staring at the family photos that still lingered on the walls. some from his past life, some of the new one that was now unraveling. Regret washed over him in waves, but it was too late. The consequences of his actions had finally caught up to him in the most painful way. As soon as Obi's taillights disappeared down the dusty road, Nneoma's demeanor completely changed. The fake exhaustion and defensiveness melted away, replaced by a look of pure relief and excitement. She let out a long, satisfied sigh, rubbing her belly absent-mindedly as she locked the front door. There were no tears for the man who had just walked out. No worry about their crumbling marriage or the child she carried. Instead, she smiled to herself in the large ornate mirror hanging in the hallway. Finally, she whispered, some space to breathe. She wasted no time. Nneoma picked up her phone, the same one she had deliberately switched off earlier at the ceremony, and dialed a number she knew by heart. It rang only twice before a deep male voice answered on the other end. "Babe, he's gone," she said sweetly, her voice now playful and seductive. "Left in anger like the fool he is. You can come over now. The house is all ours tonight." What she did next would leave anyone who knew the full story utterly speechless. Within 30 minutes, a sleek black SUV pulled quietly into the compound. Out stepped Nneoma's secret lover, a tall, muscular man named Amaka, a successful trader from a neighboring village who had been seeing her for over 7 months long before her pregnancy became obvious. He was known in the area as a charming ladies' man, and rumors had long linked him to several married women, but none as boldly as this. Nneoma greeted him at the door with a passionate kiss, pulling him inside as if she owned the entire estate. They laughed together as she led him straight into the master bedroom, the very same room where Obi had once slept beside Amaka and later beside her. Amaka carried a small cooler of drinks and snacks, clearly prepared for a long night. They dimmed the lights, played soft music from Nneoma's phone, and settled into the luxurious king-sized bed that still carried the faint scent of Obi's cologne. For hours, they indulged without shame. Nneoma, 6 months pregnant with a child whose paternity was now openly in doubt, behaved as if she were a free woman in her own world. She confided in Amaka about the fight, mocking Obi's anger and imitating his shocked expression. Amaka, in turn, rubbed her belly affectionately and joked about how the child might as well be ours. They drank, ate, and whispered plans about their future, plans that involved Nneoma eventually leaving Obi once she secured enough financial benefit from the marriage. At one point, Nneoma even took out her phone and showed Amaka the ultrasound pictures, laughing as she said, "Obi thinks he can control me? This belly is my ticket, but my heart is with you." The night continued with reckless abandon. What was supposed to be a marital home had turned into a secret rendezvous point, right under the roof Obi had built with the money from his businesses Amaka had once helped support in her own quiet way. By the time the first light of dawn began to creep through the curtains, Amaka slipped out quietly, promising to return whenever she called. Nneoma tidied up just enough to remove obvious traces, sprayed some air freshener, and climbed back into bed with a content smile. She felt no guilt. In her mind, she was simply living life on her own terms while keeping Obi as a provider and safety net. The devastating reality looms. Unbeknownst to Nneoma, one of the night guards at the compound had seen Amaka's car arrive and leave. Word traveled fast in the village, especially among domestic staff. By morning, fresh gossip was already brewing, gossip that would soon reach Mama Ngozi and, eventually, Amaka's ears. Obi, meanwhile, spent a restless night at Chike's house, replaying the argument and wondering how his life had spiraled so far from the stable family he once had with Amaka and their 3 beautiful children. Nneoma's actions that night marked a new low, a brazen betrayal that went far beyond mere infidelity. She had turned the home Obi provided into a place of open disrespect, all while carrying a child whose future now hung in even greater uncertainty. The next morning, Obi returned home still filled with anger. The argument from the previous day was still fresh in his mind, and he refused to let it go. His face was tense, and he barely spoke to anyone in the house. Amaka could tell from the moment he walked through the door that he was still upset. Knowing that Obi's anger had not cooled down, she began thinking of a way to change his mood. After some thought, she came up with a plan. Calmly, She approached him and told him that she was going to the hospital to see a doctor. Obi looked at her briefly but gave very little response. His mind was still occupied with his anger, and he showed little interest in what she was saying. A few hours later, Amaka returned home from the hospital holding a medical report in her hand. She walked straight to Obi and handed him the document. Curious, he opened it and began to read. According to the report, Amaka had gone for a scan, and the doctor had confirmed that she was expecting a baby boy. The moment Obi read those words, everything changed. The anger that had clouded his face suddenly disappeared. His eyes widened with excitement, and a huge smile spread across his face. He could hardly believe the wonderful news. All the frustration and bitterness he had been carrying vanished instantly. Overjoyed, Obi jumped to his feet and embraced Amaka. The thought of having a son filled his heart with happiness. He began thanking God and talking excitedly about the future. The same man who had returned home angry that morning was now laughing and celebrating. For the first time in days, peace and joy filled their home once again. A week had passed since the dramatic events surrounding Obi and Nneoma's troubled marriage. Life in the village moved on at its steady pace, and Amaka remained deeply focused on her thriving fresh vegetables business. She had set up her stall at the family compound with her parents' blessing, arranging colorful heaps of crisp green ugu leaves, plump tomatoes, shiny peppers, okra, and other produce that she sourced fresh every morning from trusted farmers. The business was booming. Customers praised the quality and her honest pricing, and Amaka felt a growing sense of pride and independence as she provided for her 3 children. It was a warm, sunny afternoon. Amaka was busy arranging a fresh delivery of vegetables when the low hum of a powerful engine caught her attention. An expensive, sleek black luxury car, the kind rarely seen in their modest part of the village, slowly drove up and parked near her stall. Dust swirled gently around the tires as the engine fell silent. In Amaka's mind, she assumed it was one of those wealthy customers from the city who occasionally came to buy in bulk for their households or events. A tall, handsome man stepped out of the car. He was well-dressed in a tailored traditional shirt and trousers, exuding confidence and success. His warm smile reached his eyes as he approached her stall with purposeful steps. Amaka wiped her hands on her wrapper and greeted him politely with a professional smile. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. All my produce is very fresh. It came in today from the farms. Everything is crisp and natural. What would you like? I have ugu, spinach, tomatoes, peppers, okra, all the best quality." The man smiled broader, his gaze lingering on her with genuine interest. "I am here to see you, Amaka," he said calmly. Amaka blinked in surprise, tilting her head slightly. "See me? Are you looking for someone?" "Yes," he replied, still smiling. "I am looking for you." Amaka's heart skipped a beat. She was momentarily speechless, her hands pausing over the vegetables. The man continued gently, "Please, I would like to buy lots of products from you. But more importantly, can we make out time to talk business after you finish at the market today?" Amaka was taken aback. "Can we talk now?" she asked, trying to regain her composure. The man shook his head politely. "No, we need to sit down properly and talk. This is not the right place or time. I will come back later when you are free." That evening, after closing her stall and settling the children with her mother, Amaka went straight to her parents with a mixture of confusion and nervousness. She recounted the encounter in detail, the expensive car, the handsome stranger, and his unusual request. Her father, Papa Amaka, listened thoughtfully while her mother nodded with quiet wisdom. "My daughter," Papa Amaka said, "this might be God opening a new door for you and the children. Do not close your heart because of what happened with Obi. Go and hear him out. Find out how much he wants to invest or what kind of business he is proposing. You have worked hard, and blessings can come in unexpected ways." Her mother added, "You are a strong woman now. Just be careful, listen well, and remember your worth. We support you." Encouraged by her parents' advice, Amaka agreed to meet the man the following day at a quiet, open restaurant on the edge of the village. When they met, the man, whose name was Chinedu, was already waiting with a respectful demeanor. After ordering drinks and light refreshments, he looked at Amaka sincerely and confessed, "I must be honest with you, Amaka. I only mentioned buying lots of produce and talking business to get you to agree to meet me. I have done my findings about you. I know about your past, your marriage to Obi, how it ended, and the struggles you have faced raising your children alone. I figured you probably would not want to come see me if I had told you my real intentions right away, especially after everything you have been through." Amaka sat quietly, listening as a wave of emotions washed over her. Chinedu continued, sharing his own story. He was a successful businessman from a nearby village, the richest and most respected man in his community, with interests in agriculture, real estate, and trading. He had heard about her resilience, her thriving vegetable business, and her dedication as a mother. He admired her strength and beauty, and he wanted to get to know her properly. They talked for hours, about life, dreams, challenges, and faith. Chinedu listened attentively as Amaka opened up about her journey, her children, and her determination to move forward. There was no pressure, only genuine connection. From that day, they chose to see each other from time to time, respectful meetings where friendship slowly blossomed into something deeper. A few months later, a new beginning. A few months passed, filled with meaningful conversations, shared laughter, and growing affection. Chinedu proved himself to be kind, responsible, and truly committed. One beautiful evening, under the mango tree at Amaka's parents' compound with her children playing nearby, he got down on one knee and proposed to Amaka with a stunning ring. Amaka was overwhelmed with joy and accepted. The news spread like wildfire across the villages. Amaka, the woman once discarded by her husband for not bearing a son, was getting married to one of the richest and most eligible men in the region. The entire community was shocked. Women praised her resilience, while many saw it as a powerful testimony of moving on with grace. When the news finally reached Obi in his big but increasingly lonely house, it hit him like a heavy blow. He sat in silence for a long time, a deep regret settling in his chest. He realized how badly he had failed as a husband, how he had thrown away a loyal, hardworking woman like Amaka for fleeting validation and unrealistic expectations. Now another man had stepped in to fill the gap he had created, offering her the love, respect, and security she deserved. Yet, even in his heartbreak, Obi tried to stand strong. Nneoma's pregnancy was advancing, and he convinced himself that he would soon have a son, a boy to carry his name and inherit everything. After all, he muttered to himself, Amaka only gave birth to girls. This time, things will be different. But deep down, the news of Amaka's engagement stirred a profound emptiness in him, a painful reminder of the family he had lost. Amaka was overjoyed that she had finally found love again after everything she had been through. For so long, she had carried the pain of heartbreak, loneliness, and uncertainty, never knowing if she would ever meet someone who would truly appreciate and cherish her. But Chinedu came into her life like a ray of sunshine after a storm, bringing happiness, peace, and hope for a brighter future. As their relationship grew stronger, Amaka found herself smiling more often. The worries that once weighed heavily on her heart slowly began to disappear. Chinedu treated her with kindness, respect, and genuine affection, making her feel loved and valued every single day. What touched Amaka even more was the way Chinedu embraced her children. He never treated them as outsiders or as a burden. Instead, he welcomed them with open arms and loved them as if they were his own flesh and blood. The children quickly grew attached to him, looking up to him for guidance, comfort, and support. They followed him everywhere, eagerly waiting for him to return home each day. Before long, they began to see him as the father figure they had always longed for. Chinedu also extended his generosity to Amaka's entire family. Whenever he visited, he never came empty-handed. He brought expensive gifts, bags of food, beautiful clothes, and other valuable items for her parents, siblings, and relatives. He treated everyone with warmth and respect, making them feel appreciated and important. Amaka's family welcomed him wholeheartedly, praising him for his good character and generous heart. As time went by, the bond between Chinedu, Amaka, and her family became even stronger. Family gatherings were filled with laughter, joy, and unforgettable memories. For the first time in many years, Amaka felt complete. She believed she had finally found the man she would spend the rest of her life with, and she looked forward to a future filled with love, happiness, and endless possibilities. Months turned into a beautiful new chapter for Amaka. Her wedding to Chinedu was a grand yet heartfelt affair, blending tradition with joy. Held in the expansive compound of Chinedu's estate in the neighboring village, it was attended by family, friends, and well-wishers who celebrated the union of resilience and genuine love. Amaka looked radiant in her elegant white and gold lace attire, her 3 children, Nneka, Chidi, and Adana, beaming beside her in matching outfits. Chinedu, the wealthy and respected businessman, treated Amaka like a queen and embraced her children as his own from the very beginning. Amaka was happily married to Chinedu. He supported her vegetable business, helping it expand into a thriving supply chain that now served multiple markets and even supplied hotels in the city. With his resources and love, Amaka's life transformed. The children attended better schools, the family lived in comfort and peace, and Amaka finally experienced the respect, security, and affection she had long deserved. Her parents were overjoyed, often saying that God had rewritten her story in the most beautiful way. Amaka woke up every day grateful, her heart full as she watched her children thrive under the care of a man who truly valued their family. Meanwhile, Obi's world continued to crumble. Nneoma's pregnancy reached full term amid ongoing quarrels and suspicion. When she went into labor, Obi rushed her to the hospital, still clinging to the hope that the birth of a son would restore some meaning to his broken life. The delivery was successful, a baby boy. A few days after the child was born at the private hospital, while Nneoma was resting in the ward, Obi quietly pulled the doctor aside. In a low voice, he made his request, "Doctor, I need a DNA test. I must know the truth about this child. Do it secretly, my wife must not know." The doctor, an old friend who understood the weight of such matters in their culture, nodded solemnly and took samples from both Obi and the newborn. The test was done quickly, but the results were delayed. "It will be posted to you," the doctor had assured him. Obi waited anxiously, checking his mailbox and email every single day. Days turned into weeks. The tension in the house grew. Nneoma noticed his quietness, but he brushed it off, saying it was just work stress. Finally, one hot afternoon, the envelope arrived. Obi's hands trembled as he tore it open in the privacy of his study, away from prying eyes. The bold heading stared back at him. The revelation shattered Obi completely. The boy he had hoped would carry his name and legacy was not even his. Obi alone at the table, tears streaming down his face, holding the official document that reads, "Paternity result. Not the biological father, 0% match." The empty whiskey bottle beside him. It's absolutely shattering. The explosive confrontation. Obi points furiously at Nneoma, and the DNA results in his shaking hand. Nneoma stands with arms crossed, cold smirk on her face, completely unashamed. Amaka's car keys sit on the table between them. Obi's voice thundered through the living room like a storm breaking over the quiet suburban estate. His face was twisted in raw fury, veins bulging on his forehead as he jabbed an accusing finger toward the woman standing defiantly before him. In his other hand, he clutched the crumpled DNA test result, the bold red letters screaming not the father like a death sentence to their marriage. "You are very wicked, Nneoma," he bellowed, his chest heaving with betrayal. "How could you do this to me? After everything I've done for you, for us? So you have been carrying another man's child under my roof this entire time? Living off my sweat, sleeping in my bed, while laughing behind my back with some stranger? Leave my house right now. You are a very wicked woman." Nneoma stood there with her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her elegant silk robe still wrapped around her body. Her expression remained cool and unyielding, eyes narrowed in quiet defiance, but she said nothing. The tension in the air was suffocating. On the coffee table between them lay a set of car keys, glinting mockingly under the chandelier light. Before Obi could unleash another torrent of accusations, Nneoma moved with surprising speed and composure. She turned toward the wooden baby cot positioned close by in the living room, where her Baby boy slept peacefully, wrapped in soft white blankets. The infant stirred only slightly as she gently lifted him into her arms, cradling his tiny body protectively against her chest. Without a word, she carried the child out through the front door to the car park just outside the compound. A few minutes later, she returned alone, her face set in determination. She moved through the house like a ghost, swiftly gathering her belongings, clothes, jewelry, documents, and a small suitcase she had clearly prepared in advance. Obi watched in stunned silence as she zipped the bags shut, her movements efficient and unemotional. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply lifted the last bag and walked out the door. Obi followed her out. Nneoma strides out of the compound gate in designer clothes and sunglasses, dragging her suitcase. His anger still boiling. The evening air was cool, carrying the distant hum of the city. As Nneoma stepped into the open, a sleek black car idled at the curb. A man stepped out from the driver's side, tall, well-dressed, with a confident smirk that made Obi's blood run cold. It was him, her boyfriend, the real father. Nneoma handed the sleeping baby to the man without hesitation. He took the child tenderly, placing him securely in the back seat. She loaded her bags into the trunk, then slid into the passenger seat. The car doors closed with a final, resounding thud. The vehicle pulled away smoothly, disappearing down the street into the gathering dusk, leaving Obi standing alone on the driveway, fists clenched, the DNA paper still crushed in his hand. The next afternoon, Obi sat in the same living room, staring blankly at the empty cot and the scattered remnants of the confrontation. The house felt hollow, echoing with memories he now questioned. His phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from a mutual friend, followed by a forwarded news article and a short voice note. As he read the headline and listened to the details spilling out, Obi's world shattered once more. The shocking information hit him like a freight train. Nneoma had been planning this for months. Not only was the child not his, further revelations showed layers of deception involving money, property, and even a hidden insurance policy Obi had taken out in Nneoma's name during the pregnancy. The friend's voice note ended with a devastating twist. Nneoma had already filed for divorce and was seeking a substantial settlement, claiming emotional abuse and abandonment. Obi slumped back into the sofa, the keys on the table now a bitter reminder of everything he had lost. The woman he thought he knew had vanished, leaving behind a trail of lies, a child that was never his, and a pain that would take years to heal. In the quiet of the empty house, he whispered to himself, "How did I not see it?" Nneoma had used the time she had access to his accounts and documents to sell several of his landed properties, prime plots he had acquired over the years, and emptied a significant portion of his savings. She had planned her escape meticulously, leaving Obi financially devastated and emotionally broken. The big house that once symbolized his success now felt like an empty shell filled with regret. Business seized. Bank officials paced a red, property seized, bank repossession order, notice on the shuttered OBI Enterprises shop. Obi stands to the side, hollow-faced.
Nneoma, your wickedness will catch up with you. See how you have destroyed me. Community boys have taken all my properties because of you. God, why me? I know I offended my ex-wife, but is this not too much for a punishment? Will she forgive me? Please, God.
As villagers stare and whisper. The whole village gossips in the market square. Obi lost everything. God does not sleep. He left Amaka for Nneoma and now look. Serves him right. Phones raised, heads shaking, right. Amaka, Chinedu, and the 3 daughters in full royal gold attire, laughing joyfully in their palatial mansion. The sun was beginning its slow descent over the dusty paths of the village when Obi received the urgent message. A young boy from the compound had run all the way to his house, breathless, with a simple instruction, "The elders want to see you." Now. Obi's heart sank. Word of the scandal had already spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community. Whispers about the DNA test, Nneoma's sudden departure with another man's child, and the dramatic confrontation that had shaken the entire neighborhood. He changed into a clean traditional shirt and wrapper, his face heavy with exhaustion and lingering anger, before making his way to the village square where the council of elders usually gathered under the ancient Irako tree. The meeting was already in session when he arrived. A circle of respected men, gray-haired, wise, and stern, sat on wooden stools and mats. Their faces were grave. Obi greeted them respectfully, lowering himself onto the mat provided for him. For a few moments, there was only the sound of crickets and the distant call of evening birds. Finally, Pais, the most senior elder and a man known for his no-nonsense approach to community matters, cleared his throat and spoke. His voice was deep and authoritative, carrying the weight of many years of settling disputes. "Obi, my son," he began, "we have called you here today because we have had enough of all this going on. We cannot sit back and fold our hands while you and your wife bring disgrace to this community. It is not done. Rumors are beginning to spread far and wide that our women are roaming around with other men, even while still living under their husbands' roofs. What example are you people setting for the younger generation? For the children growing up in these compounds?" The other elders nodded in agreement, murmuring their support. One of them, a middle-aged man with a carved walking stick, added sharply, "We heard everything. The child that is not yours, the man who came to carry her away in broad daylight, the DNA paper that exposed the shame. This kind of thing brings curse to the land. Our ancestors are not happy. Families are pointing fingers, saying if Nneoma could do it, then who else is doing the same? You must settle this matter properly before it destroys more homes." Obi sat silently at first, his fists clenched on his knees. The humiliation burned deep. He had come to the village seeking peace after the chaos in the city, but now even here, the story had followed him. "Elders," he finally replied, his voice low but firm, "I did not bring this upon myself. Nneoma deceived me for years. The child I thought was mine is not. She packed her things and left with her real man. What more can I do?" Pais raised his hand for silence. "That may be true, my son. But as the head of your household, you have a responsibility. You must handle this with dignity. Call a family meeting. Involve both sides. Do not let this become the village gossip that divides us. Our women must know that such behavior will not be tolerated." One elder holds up a phone showing Nneoma and Amaka caught, while Obi sits with his head bowed in deep shame and humiliation. A man does not fall because of one woman's betrayal. The community stands with you, but you must not allow this shame to linger. The meeting continued late into the evening, with the elders offering counsel, proverbs, and warnings. By the time Obi stood up to leave, the weight on his shoulders felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because he was no longer carrying the burden alone, heavier because the eyes of the entire village were now on him. As he walked back home under the moonlight, Obi's mind raced. The confrontation with Nneoma, the baby in the cot, the boyfriend waiting outside, and now this. The village would not let the matter rest quietly. Tomorrow more people would come. More questions. More pressure. Little did he know, Nneoma's side of the story was already making its own rounds, threatening to turn this family disgrace into a full-blown community war. In his lowest moment, Obi thought of Amaka. Overwhelmed by remorse, he gathered what little pride he had left and went to beg his ex-wife. He arrived at Chinedu's grand estate one afternoon, hat in hand, eyes downcast. He pleaded for forgiveness, for a chance to see his children, and perhaps even a reconciliation, admitting how terribly he had failed her. But it was too late. Amaka, now happily married and radiant with inner peace, received him calmly in the presence of Chinedu. She listened without anger, but her decision was firm. "Obi, I have moved on. My life is here now with my husband and our children."
Please forgive me.
My God never sleeps. Your wickedness is at your doorstep.
I know we don't want this man here. Daddy, we don't want this man here.
Well, sweetheart, please calm down.
Please, my love, forgive me.
Security, come now. I have forgiven you. Please leave.
Sir, this way.
"I wish you well, but there is no going back." To make matters even worse for Obi, the traditional customs sealed his fate. During their separation, Obi had refunded Amaka's bride price as part of the dissolution of their marriage. Chinedu had paid a full, honorable bride price for Amaka, which, according to village tradition and custom, meant he now held full paternal rights over the children. Nneka, Chidi, and Adana no longer answered to Obi's name. They were now legally and culturally Chinedu's children, loved, protected, and thriving under his name. Obi left the estate a broken man. The son he had desperately wanted was not his, the properties he had built were gone, and the family he had discarded had been reclaimed by another man who cherished them. The very children he once undervalued because they were girls were now happy and secure, forever beyond his reach. Amaka, on the other hand, lived a fulfilled life surrounded by love and abundance. Her story became one of inspiration in the villages, a testament that facing reality, working hard, and trusting in new beginnings can lead to greater blessings. The end. Please like, share, and subscribe.